Jumper is an electrifying sci-fi action film where a young man discovers he can teleport, thrusting him into a perilous battle between those with the same power and their relentless hunters. Shy teenager David Rice has a crush on Millie and wants to impress her. He gives her a snow globe, but a bully takes it and throws it onto a frozen river. In a desperate attempt to retrieve it, David falls through the ice and is swept away by the current. Just when he thinks he will die, he miraculously finds himself in the library, soaked but alive. After a confrontation with his father, David retreats to his room and puts a chain on the door. When his father bursts in, David mysteriously disappears. He reappears in the library, realizing he can teleport. Seeing this as a chance to change his life, he gathers money and belongings. Before leaving town, he stops by Millie's house, leaving the snow globe as a sign he's alive. Despite her calls, he remains silent, leaving Millie wondering. The next day, David travels to the city and rents a room. He practices teleportation in the park, honing his skills. He then robs a bank by teleporting directly into the vault, but realizes his bag isn't big enough for all the money. He returns to his hotel for another bag and repeats the process until his room is filled with money. However, a man named Roland, who knows about teleportation abilities, appears and is determined to find the bank robber. Years have passed, and David now lives a lavish life in a luxurious city apartment, surrounded by pictures of his global adventures and a vault filled with money. He indulges in life's pleasures, from surfing in Fiji to charming women in British pubs. David effortlessly teleports within his home and remains disconnected from the struggles of ordinary people depicted on television. David's tranquil life is disrupted when Roland, an enemy of Jumper's, arrives and blocks his teleportation with electrical weapons. Roland's purpose is to eliminate those with teleportation abilities, believing it should be reserved for God alone. In a desperate move, David escapes by teleporting back to his childhood bedroom. His father pleads for him to stay, but David teleports away just as his father opens the door. With his peaceful life shattered, David decides to seek out his former love, Millie. He discovers that she is still in the same town, working at a bar. However, his old foe Mark instigates a fight once more. In a swift move, David teleports both himself and Mark into a bank vault, leaving Mark trapped behind. Back at the bar, David, determined to share a dream with Millie, invites her to Rome. They explore the city together, but encounter a closed Colosseum. Undeterred, David opens a gate and leads Millie on a private tour. However, their journey takes an unexpected turn when they meet Griffin, another jumper who reveals the existence of a group called the Paladins. Griffin fights off attackers and teleports away, leaving David confused. In their subsequent conversation, Griffin warns David that having loved ones puts them in danger, as the Paladins will stop at nothing to kill jumpers and anyone close to them. David reunites with Millie and they attempt to escape the authorities at the Colosseum, but they are stopped outside. David decides not to teleport and instructs Millie to return to the hotel, but she refuses. Hours later, David is still under police interrogation, held along with his passport. Suddenly, his mother, whom he recognizes from childhood pictures, appears and urges him to leave Millie behind. She reveals herself as his mother and provides him with a limited time to escape. David finds Millie, takes her to the airport, and sadly explains that he cannot return home with her. While David is exploring his new reality, Roland seizes the opportunity to gather information about him. He meets with Mark, who was left trapped in a bank vault, and Mark shares everything he knows about David and their origins. Taking advantage of this knowledge, Roland pays a visit to David's father. David seeks out Griffin once again, realizing the danger his family is in. Overwhelmed by the realization, he teleports to his childhood home and discovers his father injured on the floor. Desperate, he teleports his father to a hospital for help. David then visits Mark in jail, questioning him about what he revealed to Roland. Mark confesses that he divulged everything. David becomes aware of the imminent danger Millie will face upon her arrival in the USA. Seeking assistance from Griffin, David follows him through various teleportations, desperately trying to convince him to help. Griffin commandeers a car, teleporting it through traffic effortlessly. During their journey, they share some personal details. Griffin's parents were killed by Paladins when he was young, and David's mother left when he was 5. David inquires about teleporting larger objects, and Griffin shares a cautionary tale of a jumper who perished attempting to teleport a building. Eventually, Griffin agrees to aid David in a limited engagement driven by his own vendetta against Roland, evident from the numerous drawings in his home. Upon their arrival in the USA, David discovers that Millie's flight arrived earlier than expected. He teleports to her apartment, hoping to evacuate her swiftly, but Roland and his team of attackers arrive before he can explain. David manages to teleport Millie to Griffin's hideout, though Griffin is furious since Roland can trace their teleportation. As Roland shows up, an intense battle ensues. While hiding from Roland, David caught sight of his mother's photographs displayed on the wall. Curiosity got the better of him, and in the process of investigating, he was captured and confined to a corner, unable to escape. Roland is preparing to stab him. However, just in time, Griffin intervened and saved David by using a blowtorch on Roland. During the fight, Griffin teleports a bus towards Roland, who narrowly evades it. With Millie's help, they free David, but her anger and fear towards his powers are evident. She demands to be taken home, but soon she becomes a hostage in the hands of their enemies. Griffin devises a plan to kill Roland by bringing a bomb to Millie's apartment, but it would result in the deaths of everyone inside, including Millie. David disagrees with this approach. Consequently, they engage in a global teleportation battle, wrestling over possession of the bomb and later the detonator. Their struggle takes them from falling off the Empire State Building to a war zone. Eventually, David manages to trap Griffin in fallen power lines, similar to how Roland had trapped David earlier, rendering Griffin immobilized. Aware of the imminent danger, David bravely returns to Millie's apartment, fully aware of the risky situation. He finds himself bound by electric wires, strategically anchored to the walls. Remembering Griffin's account, David decides not to attempt moving the entire building but focuses on the sections connected to the anchor wires. Utilizing his power, the building starts to tear apart, and the apartment vanishes, causing the roof to shatter in the process. They teleported to a river, submerging the house, and then back to the library where he first escaped death from drowning. Using his teleportation ability, David transports Roland to a remote cave and leaves him there, mentioning that he should consider himself fortunate for not being dropped amidst sharks. As David disappears, Roland approaches the cave's entrance only to discover he is stranded on a secluded cliff in the Grand Canyon. In the midst of winter, we witness David approaching an opulent residence and knocking on its door. A teenage girl answers, followed shortly by David's mother, who promptly sends her daughter to her room. David's purpose is to uncover the meaning behind it all and understand why his mother abandoned him during his childhood. She discloses that she is a paladin, and when he first demonstrated his teleportation ability at the age of 5, she couldn't bring herself to kill him. Consequently, she chose to leave him because of her love for him. Disappointed, David believes she should have done more, but she explains that she is indeed doing more at present by granting him a head start. It dawns on him that he won't obtain any further answers from her. He departs from the house, and Millie awaits him outside. Inquiring about her desired destination, he poses the question, "Where do you want to go?" Millie responds with a simple request, saying, "Surprise me." With that, they teleport away together. Thank you for watching, and I highly recommend watching the entire movie as it is incredibly enjoyable. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel, so you can stay updated and receive notifications whenever we upload new videos.